Hey, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the California Water Jobs and Certs Meetup. My name is Alec Mackey, and I am the Director of Communications for CWA. CWA is here to support and empower wastewater professionals, and we also love to have a little fun. So we are going to have some fun today. This is a relaxed conversation. You're going to hear some great suggestions and tips. Please add your ideas and suggestions into the chat. Add your questions for the panel into the Q&A box, and we'll get to that towards the end of the session. With me today are some leading water career experts, and we're excited to get to it. Please welcome Ramzi Mahmood. Ramzi is Executive Director of the Office of Water Programs at Sacramento State University and a Professor of Environmental Engineering. Welcome Melissa Nichols. Melissa is a Senior Wastewater Treatment Plant Operator at Regional SAN right here in Sacramento. And please welcome Helen Hugh. Helen Hugh is the Control and Electrical Systems and Business Efficiencies Manager, and also at Regional SAN. So thank you everybody for being here. Ramzi, Office of Water Programs, all of our audience knows it. Everybody loves it. It's internationally known and highly regarded. You know, what do you feel is the secret to the program's success? And why are the textbooks the go-to resource for wastewater operators?
Thank you, Alec. The number one for us when we started this program, it's really designed for operators. We have our audience and we are focused on operators, and that takes quite a bit of preparation and effective way to reach out to operators. And back in 2015, actually, we embarked on updating the books. So, and with the brand new generation, again, the focus was on operators, but we expanded on learning, the effective learning strategies. You know, a good example, we redesigned the book. So we made 1/3 and 2/3 column, as they say. We put a lot of information, relevant information on the margins. So when someone reading a term, for example, they will see the definition right there, as opposed to in the old design. It was at the beginning of the chapter. So things like that makes it, and we, with the new design, actually we're publishing with Pearson, which makes it, in terms of the cycle for updates, much faster and more effective compared to before. So
good use of technology. Mm-hmm. And we should clarify, I've heard these as correspondence classes, and I still remember getting big textbooks, big heavy books in school. Why is it called a correspondence class?
The correspondence comes, you can buy the book, but then we offer continuing education units, and that's the correspondence part, because you know, we used to mail it and we continue to mail it the same way. And operators can read on their own time and then answer questions for each chapter, send us the Scantrons, and we grade them. These days, of course, we have the exam is online, so we do offer it online, but there is the paper.
So one of the themes we have in water is there's an abundance of career paths, and maybe people don't know everything that's out there. You know, what do you feel is a hidden or interesting path, and is there an OWP course for that path?
So let me start with how many books we offer, because I didn't mention that. We have 19 titles. Wow. So that covers wastewater collection systems, and on the water treatment side, distribution systems and water treatment. And then we have industrial and pre-treatment facility inspection and so on. So we have 19 titles. So as you can imagine, there are many areas that one can get into. Now, you mentioned about careers and careers related to water industry. And that's an amazing industry because it can include anything. You know, you, from engineering, the first thing comes to mind is engineering, but that's really one side of it. You're talking about business side of it, financial, business types, and then the important part of it is how you make the system work, which really the operators. And then there's a wide range of operators that can work in this field. So really, you mentioned something hidden. Our problem, when I say our, collectively, the industry, we're not good in connecting with and educating the public, because people take us for granted. We do a good job, and it's a hidden thing. Only they hear about us when there's bad news. And I think in the last decade or more than that, there are a lot of utilities who are extending themselves outside their boundaries and going to the community. So why do I say this? Now we are in the middle of the so-called silver tsunami. A lot of us, like me, planning to retire soon, and that's a big gap if we don't bring in people to replace current employees. And that's where we need to really go, if I may use this term, upstream to high schools, even middle schools, so that people are aware what are the opportunities and what are the paths to do this, what educational materials are in. And again, I say collectively, as an industry, we need to do that.
Yeah, one of the best ideas I heard is to make baseball cards of the operators, because just like a baseball team, you've got all these roles. One of the things to know is there are over 200 career paths, the Brookings Institute said, but we can have baseball cards of wastewater operators, instrumentation techs. You know, one of my favorites that is just so interesting you'd never know is pretreatment inspector. And the pretreatment inspector is out there on the front lines, preventing any toxic metals, any grease, from ever even getting to the treatment plant that could wipe out the process or cause it to foam over. So a fascinating career path, and there's a book for that. There's a correspondence class.
Yes, there is pretreatment inspection.
About this thick.
Facilities, yeah. And it's, you can think of it as like investigation, because something happens at a treatment plant, and all of a sudden, you need to figure out when it happened, how it happened, and where. And that's sort of you're tracing back to find out, because a lot of times that's what they may need to do, because the treatment plant was upset with something that was dumped into sewer lines.
A big whodunit. And the industry sometimes doesn't know better. They'll just dump, no, I won't even say it, but they'll dump something that shouldn't be there, and that's it. The treatment plant is going to have troubles. So you kind of hinted at it, but Dr. Mahmood, we're going to miss you. You're not going anywhere. You're still going to be here in Sacramento. We'll see you at CWA, but you mentioned you're going to be retiring. So everybody has heard of yourself and the Ken Carey textbooks. You know, what do you remember about that early time, and what were some of those early conversations like?
Okay, wow. So in 1994, I started in the university and as a professor, and I knew about water programs, and that's about it, really. But then soon I started working with Ken Carey, the late Ken Carey, and I consider that really a privilege and luck to be working with him. He decided to retire in 1997, and that's when I became a director. So that's about 26 years. As I mentioned earlier, you know, our focus was always on operators and how we can convey concepts and update the books and all that. That was our discussion. We didn't really address the issue of redesigning the books, because when I talked with Ken Carey at the time, he said, Ramzi, we're busy. When we have time, we'll do it. And so anyway, in 2015, I decided, actually at that time, Ken Carey passed away, that it's time to embark on this huge project. As I mentioned, we have 19 books, so you can imagine it takes a lot. So at this today, as of today, we have 16 completed. And we updated the books in really significant way. So just to give you an example, I heard about instrumentation and control systems and so on. We have brand new chapter and really revamped. It was so much materials, I had to cut it down. And it's like qualifies to make it a book by itself. That's a future project, not for me. So that's how it is. We have 3 more to go. I think we're in good shape as far as that is concerned. So that's the journey that I took. It wasn't in my plan to be at this running OWP, as we affectionately call it, but it happened this way. So hopefully next year I'll retire. So.
And now we need to get the Dr. Mahmood books trending for the books. But it literally, folks, you can go to the Office of Water Program website. You do need to have an idea of which career path you want to go. Again, there's a lot. So ask questions, put your questions in the chat, consider your options, but you just pick a book and you go for it. And you can get all the way through into getting hired just with SAC State Correspondence Class.
So if I may mention something, there are a lot of talented people that work behind the scene. So, I have to mention this, we have really talented graphic designers, talented technical editors, and we have a lot of contributors from the industry that help us to update our books. So that's how really these books are produced. I'm proud to say we really revamped the math, and I hope this way it helps people to understand how the math itself works.
So get in there, give those Office of Water classes a try. I wouldn't want to be the proofreader, which I'm sure you were the proofreader of many of those. But speaking of hard work, Melissa, thank you for joining us. So you've gone through all this hard work of studying, getting your state certification, going through the panel interviews, getting hired on. What was your path, and what are some of the lessons you'd share with some others?
I was working as a machine operator before I got into wastewater, and I was told that I should look into becoming a wastewater treatment plant operator by an operator that I knew. And after doing some research into the field and the career, I was very interested, and I had taken various science courses in college, and to get started, I completed the Office of Water Programs Operations Volume 1 and 2 courses, and then I passed the Grade 1 state exam, and I started applying to every plant that I could until I finally received an offer.
Nice. How many months did that take?
It took a little bit less than 4 years.
Less than 4 years to go through. So you got to be dedicated to getting into this industry, but it pays off. How long does it take you to go through, let's say, Volume 1 of the operator's course?
I believe it depends on the person, how much time you have available to dedicate to it. It's really up to the individual. There is a time limit. I believe it's 6 months, but that's plenty of time to get through as long as you're dedicated and want to learn.
Find that quiet time and learn at your own pace. Oh, that's great. When someone now comes to you and says, hey, what about these wastewater jobs? What advice do you give them on choosing a career path?
Water and wastewater treatment plants have something to offer for everyone. No matter your background or experience or interests, you can find a career that will suit you. For example, I work at a facility where there are many careers that are offered. Engineering, control systems, mechanics, natural resources specialists, IT, office work, safety, you name it. There's many, many jobs, more than that. Anyone from any background can be part of a facility such as the one I work for and personally contribute to protecting the environment and public health. I would recommend to them to take their interests, skills, experience, and apply for a career that suits them best so that they can personally contribute to this industry.
Nice, nice. And as we mentioned, it's not an easy journey when you're trying to get into the industry. But it is worth it, and it kind of teaches you the patience of this industry. And a lot of agencies are also taking steps to make it a little better, a little easier in the hiring process. What are some of the things you think people can do to make them stand out?
While it's true that it can be difficult to break into the industry, it's not impossible, even if it can feel that way sometimes. It took me a few years of applying to finally receive an offer. My best advice to somebody trying to break into the industry would be to keep trying, keep studying, keep adding to your resume. The courses from Office of Water programs are a great way to learn about water and wastewater treatment while you're applying to facilities. And if you're in college, there are internships and ROP programs that can help you to gain experience while you're starting out. And also, I would recommend that people be tenacious and talk to people that are currently in the career that they're applying for and ask them for advice. Take tours, learn about the different wastewater treatment processes that are out there, and don't give up until you achieve your goal.
Stick to it, it will happen. It's a small world, it's tough to break in, but one day you'll get that lucky call back. We should touch on something unique to wastewater operators, and that's the OIT. Did you get hired on to Regional Sand to do your OIT there? Or
no,
did you do it elsewhere?
I worked at another facility before I worked for Regional Sand, and that's where I gained my hours as an OIT before I got picked up at Regional.
Can I add something to
Yeah.
that? So Regional Sand does offer opportunities for someone who's pursuing an OIT, so you can come in and coordinate with our training coordinator in the operator training office to provide those hours, on the field experience hours that you might need to help you achieve that OIT. So we do work with Folsom City College, and so we can, coordinate and offer you that opportunity to get those hours to work toward the OIT, and you'll be prime candidate for us to hire you someday.
Yeah. It can be tough to find those agencies, but luckily agencies like City of Hayward, was it?
Yes.
And Regional Sand offer OIT opportunities. This is a state mandate. This is a very serious operation. You have people's lives in their hands because clean drinking water cleaned wastewater becomes drinking water. So the state takes this very seriously, and they will want to hold on to that 1800 OIT. They want to make sure these are state licensed operators, and you're going to have to go through a little bit of training, whatever 1800 hours came from, and you must have that signed off by a chief plant. Yeah. What certs do you hold, Melissa, and what was your experience achieving those?
I'm a licensed grade 3 wastewater treatment plant operator. I have a grade 1 mechanical technologist certificate, various hazmat and emergency worker certificates, as well as a few trainer certificates. The best advice I can give regarding studying for examinations is to spread out your study. Start early, absolutely never cram right before the test. It's best to do a little bit of study every day when you're rested. When I try to study when I'm tired, it's harder to retain the information. It's better to wait until you're rested to make sure that that information sticks.
And are you seeing a change in the online learning? Do you like the old-fashioned textbook? I don't know if we call them old-fashioned. Do you like the new computerized webinars? And what's the best way to do study guides and classes?
I'm probably a little bit old-fashioned. I prefer having tactile resources, the book in front of me. When I was doing volume 1 and 2, I was taking the book with me when I went places. And so when I had some time, waiting for an appointment, that sort of thing, I would do a little bit of study while I was doing those things.
Interesting. It's coming up soon, so get your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll put those to the panel a little later. So Ramzi, what are some test-taking suggestions that you have?
Melissa touched on it very nicely. Cramming never helps. I mean, research shows in the short term you may learn, but if you just go beyond that, just doesn't work. So the best way is to have a plan and do small bits, like Melissa said, and this is talking from experience. That's the best way to hear it, but that research actually shows that. And then the other advice is you really, when you get a book that's overwhelming, the first thing you want to do is go see the need to know and what are the guidelines for the exam, what are the items or topics that you need to study. So that's step number one. And then have the plan and go at it methodically. The other thing is the most effective learning strategy is to, what they call is to retrieve the information. Meaning, if I tell you something now and you take it and you say, oh, okay, this is good, the best thing for you to reinforce that learning is to ask the question, say, what was that? So when you learn something, go a little bit later, ask yourself a question. So flashcard comes to mind is a good thing. So if you prepare your flashcards for concepts or something, and then when you review, you look at them, promise me one thing, don't look at the answer right away, because that defeats the purpose. Try to answer it first, and then look at the answer. And that's one of the techniques. There are many techniques, actually. I can give you another one, which they call interleaving. The interleaving idea is if you're studying many topics, don't finish one topic and go to the next and to the third. Actually mix them. So do little bit of that, switch to something else. It turns out your brain needs that break. The break is very important. So don't cram in. Again, it comes to break. Do small chunks so that you can learn. So, and the other good technique in learning, go to the questions first before even doing anything. Mm-hmm. Read the questions and see, do you know anything about this? And that actually improves your learning, because when you study, you remember that question. And so techniques like this. And the good thing is, in our most recent books, I expanded on the learning strategies and so on. We put it at the beginning. So because I've been talking about this for years, wherever I go, about effective learning strategies. And then in the last few books, we expanded that in the book so that people have that information.
You can also, like Ramzi was saying, look at the knowledge domains, and one of the other services CWA offers is a form called a gap analysis. Mm-hmm. So you would be surprised how much you already know. If you've had lab background, or if you've had a lot of math or engineering, you're going to know a lot of the different domains within wastewater operators, because it has a lot of lab and science questions in it. So get that big picture, get a plan, I think is our takeaway message. One for you, Melissa. Leadership. Where do you go? So you become an OIT. You become grade 1, but that's not what the agency calls it.
Every plant can have different job titles. The plant that I worked for previously, they had an actual OIT job title. The facility I work for currently, it's just a wastewater treatment plant operator is the title, regardless of if you are an OIT or a licensed operator.
Nice, nice. What is a career path, or a new term I heard, career lattice? Because you never know, you start in one place, but you're going to end up, you start in engineering, like Helen was an engineer and is now in operations management. So what are some career lattices or pathways for operators, and what are you interested in?
So in the operations career path, typically, as you mentioned, you'd start out as an OIT, then you would become an operator, and then typically most plants would have a lead worker position above that, where you are leading groups of operators for projects or a more macro plant operation position. And then above that would be operations supervisor generally, and then typically chief plant operator above that.
Wow. Do you have any ideas where you want to go? Are there lots of leadership supervisory openings at the agencies?
The industry is changing. There's a lot of people retiring right now. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of opportunity for people that are looking for that. It's definitely not a career where you would stagnate. There's a lot of movement and a lot of opportunity for people currently.
Yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. I graduated into a recession. So I think, you know, it takes a long time. You might not feel so lucky, but once you get in there, folks in water are pretty lucky. We have it pretty good, and I think people are going to be moving up really rapidly. Some might say a little too rapidly, but it's what we need. You know, we have to have all these. You're required to have a chief plant operator. You're required to have these roles. And I don't even know how to ask this question, which is why I might turn to you, Helen, but, you know, do you want to talk about this is a great trade for women, things are changing or things need to get a lot better?
I touched on it a little bit in a previous question. For me, it's so important that people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all experiences know that water and wastewater is for them. And, you know, whether you're a woman, you know, that's important, but that's just one, you know, type of person that we need to get more into the industry. The more diversity in people and ideas, that is going to just strengthen the industry. Absolutely. So we need more of that.
Yeah, and women are out there on the front lines in operations, Southern California, Northern California. So if you go on tours, you'll meet them. We are still 80% male, according to our demographics. We still have a long way to go, and that's one reason to be, like Ramzi said, mentioning these in high school and reaching out.
You know, there's one important thing, Alec, here, and I think Melissa touched on it, is these jobs have something attached to it, is the sense of service, and I think it makes a lot of people interested in that. Is, you know, what better than saying, you know, protecting public health and the environment. You know, that sense of service, I think we need to play on, and it attracts many people to go in this direction because of that. So
right. In an earlier conversation today, Helen was on a panel, and the women talked about you know, how important all of us is to take care of the environment. Right? The motivator to wake up and go to work every day is you are protecting this big, beautiful California environment and everything that is out there.
I really love being an operator, and
it showed.
I was so lucky to hear about this. I had no idea until, you know, my friend told me about it, and I'm so grateful. And I feel like it needs to be, you know, screamed from the mountaintops. Hey, there's this, you know, great industry and with great careers, and so any opportunity I get to brag about it, I do.
All right, let's have some fun. So we need a question, Ramzi. What we're going to do is Ramzi's going to ask you a question. It's quiz time, and CWA is going to put up a $50 Amazon gift card. Answer in the chat. Put your correct answers in the chat, and you're only going to have a few minutes here. So, Ramzi, what is our quiz question?
So this should be easy. What year Office of Water Programs was established?
There you go. There you go. That's pretty straightforward. So we'll give it a minute here. What year was the Office of Water Programs established? Almost time. Get those answers in the chat. All right, that's it. We'll close it. Correct answer?
1972.
Yeah, we can do two, sure. CWA will give away a second gift card. So we have another quiz for you. Put your correct answers into the chat really quickly. Here we go.
How many gallons in a liter? Quick.
Wow. I was just looking this up the other day. Why are California scientists use metric and the rest of the world uses imperial?
No, it's the opposite.
Oh, Oh, no. Our scientific researchers in California, so I was reading the California Science Report, and it was in millimeters. And
because that's the standard is in science, you have to use the metric system. The industry didn't switch.
What is it is it in gallons? It is in gallons on the operator exam.
Yes.
Which brings to an important study point: know your formulas and conversions, because it happens. And the correct answer is?
It's quarter is good. See, a lot of people switch it. They may say, how many liters in a gallon? I asked it the other way. So it's a quarter of a gallon. The exact number is 0.26.
So let's shift gears from careers and certs, and we're honored to welcome an executive from Regional SAN, Helen.
Well, thank you.
So what are some of the priority roles Regional SAN is hiring for?
Right now, as Ramzi mentioned earlier, we have lots of retirements. We have, you name it, we probably have a career for you at Regional SAN. We're actively hiring control system technicians and computer control programmers. Like Melissa's in the front line running the plant. Behind the scene are our maintenance folks that maintain the plants, the instrumentations that help an operator runs the plant or monitor the processes. And so we highly need those folks that are, we are hiring multiple positions, and then we are also hiring collections and pipeline technicians, the folks that are out there checking your pipe. Say if someone has a sewer problem and they call our sister agency Sac Sewer and say, hey, I might have a clogged up pipeline. They're the one out there interacting with customers, letting them know that they can check their pipeline to make sure that it's not a sewer problem. So we are actively recruiting those folks, and it's exciting. Melissa mentioned there's plenty of growth with Regional SAN. We have careers that we hire you in. You may start at the lower level, but you have opportunities to advance into supervisory or even management positions with us. Our website, regionalsan.com, and you can look at our career website. We have a career ladder or career lattice that you can take a look at any of the career options we offer, from entry, trainee level, all the way up to executive management. And when we bring you in, we do hire you. For example, Melissa, with the operators, when we bring them in, we actually train them on our facility for 2 years before we let them work independently. So there's lots of training that we offer. We work with CWEA to bring in certification study sessions to help our staff getting the certs. So that's some of the hot careers that we're hiring.
So everybody wants to be a wastewater operator. You see it in the forums and the chats, and I want to become a wastewater operator. But there you can pick up on two. I picked up on two. So instrumentation tech, and it's not exactly connected, but a construction inspector. So construction inspectors, believe it or not, are a critical role and in high demand, and we can't find either of those roles almost across the state. Southern California, Bay Area, up here in Sacramento. Can't find instrument techs, can't find construction inspectors. So why should somebody consider not the glamorous life of a wastewater operator, but one of these niche roles like instrumentation or an inspector?
I think, like Melissa said earlier, finding an interest. If you're into the techie world, you're into fixing things or trying to solve problems, the instrumentation world is your cup of tea. It's, we offer a fulfilling career. We train you, and not only that, you get to be creative. So, on one side are the controls and instrumentation folks that are, fixing the instruments, but on the other hand, they're also doing some programming. So if, say, for example, a process not working quite properly, and Melissa's noticed that, then bring it into our computer programmers, and they can help you solve the problem or reevaluate the strategy that operates the plant, and then help you work with the operators, redesign, and maybe that'll help optimize the plant process. So you get a lot of creativity, not just dealing with the day-to-day activities, but you want to do something different. you have a little bit of a computer programming skills, that's kind of, where you can expand your career and growth with us. So it's not just, you come in, you have opportunity to advance, and that's what we offer.
Yeah, and it's so critical for the environment right now, believe it or not, because we have nutrient removal process, which was built, and a lot of the instrumentation is used to fine tune or find that perfect, the right bugs are happy at the right time. In the Bay Area, a lot of the older treatment plants, the techs and the operators are working together just to perfectly fine tune aeration to get more nutrients out of the San Francisco Bay. So wastewater operators are the environmental protectors, and it takes a big team.
And you touched it. We do have our upgraded treatment process with the BNR, biological nutrient removal, and our tertiary filtration. So those two new processes added a lot more instrumentations for us. And so not only with the folks that are retiring and enjoying their post-career, but with retirements, we also have new positions because of the new workload. So that's where we are actively recruiting multiple positions.
But I don't think people know that SCADA runs all of our infrastructure systems. And so from the control room, you can run thousands of pumps and valves and different systems throughout that process. And some cities like Los Angeles have master control rooms where they can control their entire wastewater operation across the city from one control room. So these instrumentation techs are critical, as is every team member.
Yeah, they're the people behind the scene that's helping build the system, so the operator are in the front running it. So our control system actually works really close with the operator, because the operator will see the day-to-day response of the process. And then the instrumentation folks are behind the scene trying to adjust or revise the control strategies to help the operation side. So we work close together, you work with a variety of crafts.
And this is a lot of knowledge that's happening, because wastewater operators have all of the science and lab and living microorganisms, as well as mechanical systems, and instrumentation techs know programming. I don't even know what the program is these days, C++ or Microsoft something, but that is a lot to learn and to keep in your mind so that you can program those systems. Well, let's go back. One of the things we want to give people a heads up on is this is a long process getting into the industry, but agencies are getting better. What's the hiring process like at Regional SAN, and what do you recommend for people to get prepared?
So right now we are still part of the County of Sacramento. So the application process, like any public agency, you put in your application. But the good thing is, once you put in your basic information, any additional jobs you apply, those information gets carry over. And then with specific jobs you apply, there are specific questions. So I recommend, if you're, say, preparing for an instrumentation technician position, become familiar with the things that you are already familiar with. And then once you get in, it does take between 1 to 3 months to get the application ranked. But I highly recommend just getting your applications in, because we cannot interview you without you being on the eligible list. And then once we call you for interview, I would recommend you prepare yourself with a nice resume, depending on what else the hiring supervisor asks. But be yourself. Be comfortable answering the questions. As a hiring manager myself, we not only do we ask technical questions, but we also ask interpersonal skills type of questions. So if you can prepare, answering those kind of questions, that will be helpful.
Does Regional SAN do the panel interviews?
Yes, we do.
Been on the interviewee side, and I also had the opportunity to be a member of an interview panel for a WTPO position. Having seen both sides, myself, I get very nervous in interviews. I know I'm not the only one, it's very common. But having the opportunity to have been exposed to the other side, you realize that the people that are in the interview panel want to see the best people come into the organization. It's not a judgment zone, and it can it's easier said than done to say, oh, it's okay, be relaxed. It's still can make somebody very nervous, but it's a group of people from an organization really looking for people that are excited to come in and be an integral part of the organization.
Yeah, because this is a really tight-knit team, so they're looking to see a lot about that person. And I think we can pull back the curtain because, that panel does want you to succeed. What I think is going on here is municipal governments need to be fair in their hiring, completely fair and transparent. And in fact, I've even heard some of these videos are recorded, some of these interviews are recorded, just because Municipal Human Resources Department take every legal and ethical step possible to make this a fair and transparent process. That's all that's going on here. And so it can feel intimidating when you're in the machine.
Yeah.
And that's very true too. For our panel, we actually have an external member. So for example, if Regional Sands hiring, we might invite Alec you to be on our panel serving as the external member because you want to be fair. So not just, if an interviewer feels, well, they're just going to pick their own kind of thing, the external panel member actually helps us to provide that fairness and that equity that we didn't just hire. We do hire the best candidate that show themselves by coming to interview on time, dress appropriately, answering the question well, provided well-rounded answers.
Great tips.
And my advice from watching many interviewees, really the best strategy is to prepare for the interview. Preparing means you look at the organization, learn about the organization that you're trying to get a job with, learn as much as you can, as much information is available to you, because that will show in the interview that you're interested, you paid attention, you spent time, and also ask questions if some things are not clear to you. That also shows that you're interested in the organization. It's not just like any job you're coming in to.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would add too, it's in recent times I've heard that not only is the hiring manager interviewing the candidate, but it's actually the other side too.
Absolutely.
So it'll be also the applicant's chance to see, are these the people I want to work for or work with? Is this the organization I want to have built my career with? So it's very important not only on the applicant side, but on the other side to see the interview panel members and who they are. And so if you come in a bit more relaxing, and we try to make the candidates relax, as we know everybody's nervous. I'm nervous myself sitting on the other side. So it's that opportunity to take a look at each other and see if this is the right place and the right fit for you.
Yeah. One of the things that we do, I'm not sure if everybody can do that, we allow an hour for the candidates to sit in the conference room and invite the staff to come and meet with them and talk to them. And in most cases, there could be one or two from the interview panel there, but normally most of us leave just to allow them to learn about us through others.
Yeah. Yeah. So great tips. At the end of the interview, you're probably going to be asked, is there anything you want to ask us? And don't let that opportunity go by. It's up to you, but you could ask, how fast can I get promoted? Or what are, some promotional opportunities, or what are training opportunities? Anything is on the table that you want to learn. Like Helen said, you're interviewing them as well. And the second point is they're going to be stone-faced, very serious. They will not laugh at your jokes, only because it's a serious government operation. They're laughing at your jokes inside, but they're not going to show any emotion. So don't think that wastewater people are bad or humorless. It's just the interview process, and it's a dance. It's both of you doing your thing. And prepare, public outreach is a career path in water, and they have wonderful websites Regional Sand and Sac Sewer have awesome information about Echo Water. You can learn about what the BNR process is. You can learn how much it costs and why they did it, and then you can ask questions back to the panel, and that will make you seem like brilliant. Just that little bit of preparation can go a long ways.
Agree. And we also offer tours, so if opportunities arise that, you know, like Ramzi said, if you want to prepare yourself well, we offer public tours. You can join one of our public tours, or you can reach out to one of us, and perhaps we can arrange for something that's works with your schedule, and that's your chance to come in and see the place that you work, or you will be, or have the potential to work in. So I think that's a really good, you know, vision to put in your mindset, right? This is the place that I want to be or not want to be. In this case, we want you to be here. So it's a huge plan. It takes at least, I want to say, 2 hours to work through the plant. Definitely you'll get your steps in.
Yeah, good exercise. Get to know your plants, your local plant. Visit other cities, be like wastewater operators on our vacations. We go to plants.